Welcome back to the deep dive. Every time new Epstein documents surface, seems like the first question everyone asks is this the AE?
It's become this huge focus, hasn't it?
Absolutely. So today, we're really going to dissect this almost mythical Epstein client list.
Right.
We want to see what's rumor, what's fact, and maybe understand why this particular narrative holds such power.
Yeah.
We're continuing our series on Jeffrey Epstein, diving deep into the labyrinthine world around him. And this deep dive is all about trying to set the record straight on one of the most speculated about parts of the whole saga.
Exactly.
You've heard the rumors, the claims, all the speculation, but what does the verifiable record actually show? That's kind of our mission today.
Right. We want to compare those widespread public claims about this elusive list with the actual documents and testimonies that have surfaced.
So who's saying it exists? What are they pointing to?
We'll look at that, who says it exists, what evidence they cite, and then really scrutinize that against things like, the flight logs, the famous Black Book, and, crucially, the victim accounts. The goal is really to highlight the gap between that rumor and the confirmed record, and maybe explore why this narrative persists so powerfully.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So for years, this idea of a single definitive client list has absolutely captivated the public imagination.
Oh, completely.
It brings up these images of like a secret ledger, right? A smoking gun that would expose everyone involved. But where did this widespread belief actually come from?
Well, we've seen the narrative amplified across the board. It's come from commentators, media personalities, even high-profile politicians.
Any specific examples?
Yeah, for instance, former Attorney General Pam Bondi, she explicitly stated on Fox News that the list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now to review.
Wow. Okay.
And what's really significant is that claim was actually reposted by the official White House Twitter account at the time.
Which would lead a lot of people to believe it's a verified, tangible document.
Exactly. It gave it a huge stamp of perceived legitimacy.
And this is where, the public narrative really started to fracture, didn't it? Because you had others in the media, like Newsmax host Rob Schmidt, saying he didn't believe Donald Trump was even on such a list.
Right. And then you had figures like Charlie Kirk criticizing the Trump administration for, promising some kind of big reveal that never actually happened.
Which led to, as he put it, profound confusion in the Maggie world about why information was maybe being withheld or claimed not to exist.
Yeah, that confusion was definitely palpable. And it wasn't just on one side. We also heard suggestions, like from another Newsmax host, Rob Finery, that maybe other investigations were just a smokescreen to distract from the supposed Epstein files.
And then politicians like Hakeem Jeffries publicly demanded the whole truth.
Questioning what the Trump administration and the Department of Justice might be hiding regarding a client list.
So it paints this picture of just intense public demand for names for a clear ledger.
Yeah, like cracking open an FBI safe.
Right. To reveal this list signed in blood, as one commentator actually described it. It's almost being a folk legend at this point, hasn't it?
It really has. The myth took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond all that public speculation, let's ground this. What do the verifiable records actually tell us about who was involved?
Right. What's the ground truth?
Well, like we hinted, there isn't a single definitive client list in the way it's been publicly imagined.
But there is evidence.
Oh, absolutely. What we do have is this really complex web of connections, meticulous travel records, and frankly, harrowing, detailed personal accounts from victims.
So it's more like a mosaic of evidence.
Oh, exactly. That's a great way to put it. It forms a mosaic of evidence. And I'd argue the true horror of the Epstein network lies not in one simple ledger, but in this, decentralized but equally damning collection of information.
A sort of functional list that's maybe harder to ignore or redact than a single document.
Precisely. Let's start with the flight logs.
Okay.
We have extensive records of Epstein's private plane travel. His entities controlled at least 2 private jets capable of, intercontinental journeys.
And his arrest itself happened when he landed on one.
Right. His arrest occurred when he arrived back in the U.S. on his private jet after being abroad for several weeks.
And the logs themselves, they show repeated travel by a lot of individuals. Ghislaine Maxwell, for example.
A shocking number of times.
Over 300 times she appears on Epstein's planes.
Yeah, and that includes at least 11 times just landing in or departing from West Palm Beach in 2005 alone.
Which is particularly striking when you compare it to her later claims.
Right, her claims of a surprising lack of memory about events that were recorded on these very flight logs.
What about victims? Do they appear on the logs?
Yes, they do. Mr. Jeffrey's name appears on logs, for instance, on a December 2000 flight from Palm Beach to Teterboro, New Jersey, alongside Epstein, Maxwell, and Emmy Taylor. And then there's another flight continuing to the U.S. Virgin Islands in December 2001. We have records showing her returning from the Virgin Islands with Epstein.
But not how she got there.
Exactly. The logs don't show how she arrived there on that occasion, which, raises some questions.
So we have this clear network of travel. What about some of the more famous names people always associate with Epstein?
Well, the records do indicate Epstein traveled with Prince Andrew to Thailand back in 2001. And Virginia Giuffre, in a 2011 interview, stated that former President Bill Clinton had a close personal relationship with both Maxwell and Epstein.
She recounted Maxwell telling her she flew Clinton in.
Yes, though Giuffre later clarified that she felt that was maybe taken out of context and that Ghislaine, quote, likes to talk a lot of stuff that sounds fantastical.
Okay, so the flight logs show a network, travel patterns, specific individuals, but not necessarily the purpose of every trip or a list of clients.
Precisely. They establish connections and presence, but not the nature of the interactions on those trips.
So if the flight logs show this verifiable network, what about that other document people always bring up, Epstein's so-called Black Book?
Ah, yes, the Black Book.
What does it reveal? And maybe more importantly, what doesn't it reveal?
Yeah, it's really crucial to understand what this document actually is. It's a contact book.
Just names and numbers.
Pretty much. Names, numbers, addresses of various individuals. It is not a list of clients for illicit services.
So who's in it then?
It includes people like former employees of Lazard, the financial firm names like Roger Barnett, Eva Lorenzotti, Todd Meister.
And Meister's father reportedly introduced Epstein to Les Wexner.
That's the connection, yes. Robert Bob Meister. The book also has, travel agents, general contacts.
So it's a directory of associations, basically.
Exactly. Associations, connections, not a transaction record for illegal activities.
So if the Black Book is just a contact list, why do you think it became such a focal point for the list narrative?
Well, I think it plays into that desire for a single, easy answer we talked about.
The name itself sounds suspicious.
Right. Black Book just sounds illicit, doesn't it? And I think people quickly conflated it with some kind of hidden ledger of wrongdoing rather than what it really was, essentially a Rolodex of his connections.
Which included legitimate business contacts alongside others.
Alongside others who clearly weren't just business contacts, yes, but the book itself doesn't categorize them that way.
Okay, so no definitive list in the flight logs, no definitive list in the Black Book. Where does the most revealing information come from then?
Arguably, the most harrowing and I think most revealing records come from the victims themselves.
Their testimonies.
Yes, their testimonies paint this incredibly consistent picture of recruitment, abuse, and a really chilling network of complicity.
You see that in the early investigations too, right?
Definitely. The Palm Beach Police Department, back after a 2005 complaint about a 14-year-old girl, ended up identifying approximately 20 girls aged 14 to 17 who reported being sexually abused by Epstein.
And the FBI investigation later.
The FBI's 2006 investigation determined that Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2 were also minor victims when the abuse occurred.
And if we delve deeper into those victim accounts, Virginia Giuffre detailed how Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her when she was just 15.
And she stated Maxwell routinely participated in Epstein's exploitation of minors.
And Johannes Joberg corroborated being trafficked to Prince Andrew.
Yes, and Joberg explicitly stated that Maxwell implied she needed other girls around because Maxwell, quote, doesn't have the time or desire to please him, Epstein, as much as he needs.
Wow. Joberg even brought others into it.
She did. She recounted bringing a restaurant colleague and also a fitness instructor to Epstein. It shows the recruitment network in action.
And Maxwell's response to all this in her deposition.
Flat denials. She stated she never ever at any single time participated in sex with Giuffre and Epstein. She called Giuffre's story one giant tissue of lies.
Claimed no knowledge of underage girls or recruiting.
None whatsoever, but that's sharply contradicted by other testimony. Ronaldo Rizzo, who was an estate manager for a friend of Epstein's.
What did he say?
He testified about witnessing Maxwell threatening a terrified 15-year-old girl, even confiscating her passport to force her to have sex with Epstein.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And Rizzo also observed, he said, 11 to 12 girls, ranging from maybe 14 to 19 years old, at the house over time.
The victim testimony also reveals these disturbing code words, doesn't it? Like massage.
Right. Virginia Giuffre explained that massage to Epstein meant erotic massage. It wasn't therapeutic.
And Sarah Arios, another victim, shared how she met Epstein at 15, felt obligated to perform these massages for money.
Yeah, fearing repercussions if she refused. She later said she hated myself for it.
And then there are even more extreme allegations. One, Jane Doe alleged horrific sexual and physical abuse, including forcible rape, by both Donald Trump and Epstein in New York City back in 1994.
Yes, and she stated she witnessed Epstein threatening her life if she ever revealed details. She also claimed Trump told her she didn't want to, quote, disappear like the 12-year-old female Maria.
So these testimonies, taken together,
They identify this incredibly disturbing web. It involves victims, it involves co-conspirators like Maxwell, and it involves various powerful associates who interacted with Epstein.
and were either victims themselves or involved in his criminal enterprise.
Exactly. It's this network, implied by their detailed, consistent accounts, that forms the most damning record. It's not a singular client list for sexual services, but a map of abuse and complicity.
So what really stands out to you in all of this? It seems so clear that the public's perception of that single definitive client list just diverges so sharply from the reality, which is fragmented, complex, often heavily redacted records, and these personal accounts.
Yeah, the reality just isn't a neat ledger. Like we've been saying, it's this mosaic of evidence, flight manifests, contact books, depositions, victim statements.
That have to be pieced together.
Right, painstakingly pieced together. And when you do that, it reveals a truly disturbing pattern and a network of individuals, but it doesn't present that clear-cut, simple list of patrons in the way people imagine it.
And that gap between perception and reality, it gets wider because of things like missing or manipulated evidence, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, take the video footage from Epstein's prison cell around the time of his death.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, it's been reported as incomplete, or that the recording system suffered catastrophic disk failures.
Which just fuels endless conspiracy theories.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
And the prison security camera system itself was noted to have serious issues. Inoperable cameras, an insufficient number of cameras, poor video quality, and inadequate video storage.
Not exactly confidence-inspiring.
Not at all. And while the Justice Department's Office of Professional Responsibility, the OPR, which investigates misconduct,
Did they find wrongdoing in the original plea deal?
they found no evidence that prosecutors intentionally sought to benefit Epstein at the victim's expense. However, they attributed the very lenient outcome to, quote, misplaced concerns about interfering with state jurisdiction.
Which sounds like a very bureaucratic explanation.
It does. And that kind of official explanation often struggles to compete with the much more powerful, simpler narrative of a hidden list being covered up.
It feels like those official explanations sometimes just create more questions than answers, especially when you stack them up against the persistence of the rumors. Is there a common thread you see in how these gaps get filled by speculation?
I think there often is, yeah. When the official narratives are complex, or they're perceived as incomplete, or maybe they involve legal complexities that are just hard for the public to grasp.
It leaves a void.
Exactly, it leaves a void. And into that void rushes simpler, often much more dramatic explanations. People naturally want clarity, they want accountability, and a hidden list provides a very straightforward, even if often inaccurate, target for their frustration and anger.
So given all that, the complexity, the missing pieces, the unsatisfying official answers, why does this specific narrative of a client list persist with such intensity?
Well, I think it speaks to a really deep human desire for clear answers, doesn't it? For a single point of truth in what is just a murky, profoundly disturbing saga.
And when officials promise things like big reveals that then don't materialize?
Or when information is withheld, maybe for legitimate legal or privacy reasons, but the reason isn't always clear.
It creates that vacuum again.
Right. And speculative narratives, like the client list, just rush in to fill it. People often prefer, let's be honest, exciting conspiracies over explanations that might be more mundane or legally complex or just unsatisfying.
And I think this point about the financial aspect is also crucial, because it ties directly into why these narratives persist so strongly.
How so?
Well, Epstein's whole background, right? He was known as this financial fixer for the ultra-wealthy.
Right, hiding their money.
Yeah, his ability to hide their money through these complicated offshore debt structurings. And then there's all the constant talk of leverage.
Even soft, unspoken blackmail, people speculated, with cameras on his island.
Exactly. All of that feeds into this potent idea that powerful people were being protected, and therefore a secret list must exist somewhere, documenting their involvement.
And the non-prosecution agreement, the NPA, that adds huge fuel to the fire.
Because it granted Epstein federal immunity.
And crucially, it was kept secret from the victims and the public for a long time.
And the fact that this agreement explicitly immunized from prosecution Epstein's co-conspirators.
That just reinforces the belief for many that powerful individuals were deliberately being shielded.
Then you add the victim accounts of being threatened by very powerful people.
It validates those fears that a wider network is being protected, and it leads people to believe there must be a list somewhere that's being suppressed.
It really taps into a fundamental human need for justice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the idea of finding one comprehensive client list offers this simple, even if it's illusory, path to accountability for everyone involved in something so horrific.
It's a shortcut to justice that feels necessary when the official paths seem blocked or too complex.
So we've navigated through the public claims and then looked at the documented realities surrounding Jeffrey Epstein and this supposed list.
Yeah.
And while the concept of that singular physical client list really remains more of a widely circulated rumor than a single verified document, the actual records we do have, from the flight logs to the black book to especially the harrowing victim testimonies, they paint a comprehensive and deeply disturbing picture of a vast network.
Absolutely. What we see isn't one simple ledger. It's this complex web of associations, financial dealings, and just horrific abuses.
So the client list narrative persists.
Not because of a single document, I think, but because of that deep human desire for clarity, for accountability, and for a complete understanding of a truth that, in reality, is fragmented and still being pieced together, even now.
So the next time you hear someone talking about the list, maybe consider what we've unpacked today.
Yeah.
It's not just about what documents might or might not exist.
Right. It's also about why certain narratives take such a powerful hold.
And what questions that raises for you, for all of us, about how we process complex, really unsettling information in the public sphere.